Thank you very much. I'd like to extend deep gratitude to all of you on behalf of Soto Zenbuddhism North America office, which is yes, which is one of the branch offices of Soto Shishumicho in Tokyo. And that includes three other offices, one in Europe, one in Hawaii, and the other one in Brazil. So our offices happens to be one in Los Angeles. Now, without further introduction about our own office, I'd like to introduce you our special guest. We call this teacher who comes once every year, 2 years these days, Reverend Gihan Unno, representing Soto Zen School in Japan. I happened to had a honor to translate his bio. I'll briefly introduce him. So he was born in 1969. And his birthplace is called city of Morioka in Iwate Prefecture. And he's an abbot of Eishoji Temple in the Kitakami city. He graduated from the Morioka local Daiichi High School. His major was in science, math, and then in 1988, and graduated from, it's a very famous school, Nippon Sports Science University. So what I'm saying is an athlete from Faculty of Sports Science in 1992. And she stayed active as a professional skier while working for one of the companies of the sport brand and the tourist company from 1992 until 2007. His Ango practice period at Sojiji Temple was in 2008. Then he was appointed as a Daihonzan AH Fukyoshi dissemination teacher at this one of the two head temples from 2016 to 2017. Then appointed as a part-time, we call this dissemination teacher of Daihonzan AH from 2018 to 2019. And then he was later appointed as the abbot of Eishoji Temple in Iwate Prefecture back in 2019. Now, is now appointed as a Sotoshu Tokuha Fukyoshi. Tokuha means specially dispatched. That's roughly a literal translation, representing the voice of the head priest of our school. And he'll be conveying the message of our head school over from Japan this time. And he's also serving as one of the directors who's helping training monks in this monastery called Shoboji Monastery in Iwate since 2019. I also personally got to know him last year. He's highly actively engaged in society and communities. I see many of his pictures engaging with children's activities. So I was personally looking forward to meeting him in person, and I hope you get to enjoy his talk today. So I'll conclude it here. Thank you so much.
アッパーのオープニングスートラis always encountered, yet rarely perceived, even in the midst of ages. Now we see it, hear it, receive and maintain. May we completely realize through me.
表現。Nice to meet you. The sutra. Gatsan on opening the sutra. In Japanese, 開教言。開教言。And Kama Sutra 開教言。Please, Gasho, and hear me. And then your Kama Sutra in English, in Japanese. Mujo jin jin mi myo ho 100,000万を南宋が根検問特十字願へ如来真実義自起仏当願主上大下大道発無常心自起法当願主上人入教蔵知恵如海自起相当願主上通り大衆一切無限ナム第四教主本師釈迦牟尼仏ナム高祖上陽大師道元禅寺ナム大祖上最大師経山禅寺この説法の道場に降臨しまして愛民の十したまわんこと。Take it easy, please. こんにちは。わかりますかね ?That is hello. はい。I sincerely appreciate the opportunity to be invited for this Tokuhafukyo dissemination tour in North America. My name is Gihan Unno. Gihan Unno. Soto Zen Tokuhafukyo teacher and abbot of Eishoji Temple in Kitakami City, Iwate Prefecture, Japan. I have taken a flight across the Pacific to be here today. And furthermore, Iwate Prefecture, do you know Iwate? Do you know? No? You know? Iwate Prefecture that I come from is the hometown of Shohei Ohtani. Do you know? He's belonging to Los Angeles Dodgers. あ、ここパドレス Here is Padres.
えっと、Darvish was belong to Tohoku High School, next prefecture in Iwate. He has come to Iwate many times when he high school student. Yeah. And looking back, it must have been over 20 years ago before I became a Soto Zen priest. I had the experience of staying in New York for 1 week. I still remember how I used to skate through Central Park every day on inline skate. Do you know inline skate? Because I was professional skier for training in New York and training skating. Yeah. And however, this is my first time coming to US for Soto Zen dissemination. So I admit I am feeling a tiny bit nervous. And furthermore, as my English is not very strong, so I ask for your understanding as I will be relying on my script while delivering this Dharma talk. Still, it is my hope to share with you the words of the head priest of Soto School in Japan. And do you know head priest? No? Oh, 素晴らしい。南沢Doni Zenji of Daihonzan Eiheiji Temple, and convey how we can engage with practice of the Zen and how we should live in this chaotic world. First, I'd like to read his words. Please listen his message. Different. Nice. 大丈夫、大丈夫。はい。Yokoyama-san has reread his message. Ready? I will read a message. A message from a head priest of Soto Shu in 2025. The various problems facing the world today are complex and layered. It is not an exaggeration to say that the places threatening basic human rights, such as the right to live in peace and the dignity of life, is only growing. As followers of Shakyamuni Buddha and two founders of Soto Zen Buddhism, we must know the sure path to follow. Shakyamuni Buddha realized the law of dependent origination and through his wisdom, observed everything correctly. He demonstrated with his own life that harmony with others is achieved through compassion. This way of life, free from self-interest and egoism, is what we should follow. Dongen Zenji thought round backward step that turns the light and shines it inwards. This means to pause in our steps, adjust our breath, step back 2 or 3 paces, and humbly reflect on our actions in the light of the Buddhist path. Keizan Zenji thought, we must always generate thoughts of harmony and reconciliation. The disturbance of harmony is throughout all ages, caused by human self-interest and desire, namely greed. It is this greed that is the source of suffering and the root of conflict. Since this world is impermanent and selfless, the sun and moon shine without personal attachment, illuminating everything. We too wish to engage with all things and all circumstances with the utmost sincerity. The act of gassho is to align oneself with the Buddha by engaging in zazen, where we can awaken to the Buddha within ourselves. Let us pray and wish for a peaceful life for all people across the world, ensuring that no one is left behind. Let us continue to practice the way of the Bodhisattva together. Gassho. Homage to the Buddha Shakyamuni. Homage to Zen Master Dogen, Great Master Joyo, eminent ancestor. Homage to Zen Master Keizan, Great Master Josai, great ancestor. 1st April 2025, Donin Minamisawa, head priest of the Soto Shu. Thank you. This is the words of the Kancho, head priest, Soto Zen School, Dogen Minamisawa. As I read them over, the various problems facing the world today are complex and layered. I see how we are living in a very difficult time, in a critical situation. This is true for both the United States and Japan. We all globally share the awareness about the challenging situations we face today. Yet, even in such circumstances, the Buddha Shakyamuni showed us how to live peacefully. As stated in the 3rd paragraph, he demonstrated with his own life that harmony with others is achieved through compassion. With a compassionate heart, it would be possible for us to actualize harmony and unity with others. Compassion means truly thinking of aite, in Japanese, aite. That is, the one who are with you, bringing them joy and alleviating their sufferings. It is not about our own joy, but about giving joy to the ones who are with you. It is not about our own suffering, but about relieving the suffering of the ones who are there with you. In doing so, we find such actions, our own joys, and our own suffering being alleviated. Dongen Zenji teaches us this concept with the phrase, we should learn the practice of turning the light around and shining it back. Through the Zen, he shows us how to look inward and, more importantly, how to extend our thoughts to others, not just ourselves. The practice of Zazen that we engage in is called Shikantaza. Sotoshu, Zazen of Sotoshu is Shikantaza. Do you know? Shikantaza. That means just sitting. Just sitting. However, it is not merely about sitting. It is important to turn the light around and shine it back on ourselves. As highlighted in the Fukan Zazen, it is not merely about doing, but it is a time of reflecting on ourselves. Think about it. Do you have quiet moments in your daily life to reflect on yourself? Is there time when you can sit still and simply look at yourself without doing anything else? But now, today's session, we praise the Zen every time, every day. But if you are told, take 5 minutes and do nothing. Take 5 minutes and do nothing. What would you do? Most likely, many of us would look at our smartphone, watch TV, and turn right the radio, or read a book, or speaking. Yes, when we have free time, we often find ourselves doing something. In this context, Dongen Zenji teaches us that the time we truly sit in stillness and do nothing is itself is Zazen. In the practice of Zazen, doing nothing, the head priest Reb Minamisawa Zenji once shared a profound teaching with us. He said, Zazen nurtures the compassionate heart and mind to care for others and help one another. When I heard that, practice of Shikantaza is not just sitting in the Soto Zen tradition, but cultivating the compassionate heart and mind. I felt deeply grateful. The understanding of the cultivation of a heart and mind that extend our thoughts to others, seek others' happiness, and wish to alleviate their suffering through Zazen, made me realize the wonderful virtues of the practice. Since then, I have been able to live my life with an even greater sense of closeness to Zazen. Also, Keizan Zenji teaches us that even in difficult times, we must always generate thoughts of harmony and reconciliation. When people encounter challenging situations, they often close their hearts. When people are in despair, they can become paralyzed and unable to take actions. However, Even in such time, Keizan Zenji encourage us to help each other and reach out to one another, to continue living together. This teaching, so characteristic of the kind-hearted Keizan Zenji, emphasizes caring for others and striving for harmony with others. It is with such spirit that conflict and strife should vanish from the world, eliminating cause of a war. When I reflect on the teaching of Wango Waboku, it is Japanese, Wango Waboku. Keizan Zenji said, Wango Waboku. That is, in English, harmony and reconciliation. There is a sutra from the Buddha's teaching that comes to mind. It is none other than the Lotus Sutra. Do you know Lotus Sutra? Yeah. Specifically, the verse of the lifespan of the Tathagata chapter of the Lotus Sutra, which we chant regularly. In this sutra, there is an expression that says, Nyuwa Sujiksha. Nyuwa Sujiksha in Japanese. I really love this phrase, especially the word Nyuwa. Please say Nyuwa. 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 Yes. Which conveyed a sense of softness and mutual harmony. Nyuwa. Softness and harmony. The phrase Nyuwa itself carries very soft and gentle nuance. Even if you say Nyuwa in English, Nyuwa. Please say Nyuwa. Nyuwa, yes. 柔らかい. Softness. Nyuwa. Nyuwa, yes. It still sounds soft and gentle. The virtues of the Chinese characters rise in that their vague and broody expression conveys a very gentle feeling with them. The Buddha has been consistently teaching the importance of thinking of others with us and interacting with them gently from over 2500 years ago. Now, this year marks the 80th anniversary of end of World War II, you know, in Japan. 80th anniversary, end of World War II, yeah. It's been 80 years since the end of the war ended, including myself. We were born and raised without knowing what it means to live through a war. Have you experienced the war? No. Yes? Yes? Since we have no direct experience of war, we grew up without knowing what the consequences of war would look like. However, things are different now. In recent years, the situation has dramatically changed globally between Ukraine and Russia, Israel and Palestine. When war breaks out, The whole world now experiences the devastating impacts and consequences. The aftermath of such tragedies is filled with scenes that make us want to cover our eyes. But when I think about it, Japan also suffered from the Second World War. In Japan, 18 years have passed since the war, since he experienced of the tragedy and since becoming the sole country subjected to atomic bombing. About 10 years ago, I had the opportunity to visit Nagasaki City with fellow monks as someone with absolutely no experience of war. Having never been to either Hiroshima or Nagasaki before, I was looking forward to visiting the city of Nagasaki, where the influence of the long history of trade with Europe remained. However, the more I learned about the city, the more closely I started to notice the influence of the aftermath of the atomic bomb as a focal point. Our group chose to visit Nagasaki Peace Park because we wanted to learn about the war. As we walked through the city, I noticed something significant. Unlike Hiroshima, which has the iconic atomic bomb dome, Nagasaki does not have a building that directly symbolizes the tragedy of the atomic bombing. However, remnants of the atomic bomb's impact can still be found throughout the town. The remnants of a bell tower, scorched and toppled a torii gate at the sheer split in two, with only one column still standing. When we arrived at the Peace Park, our attention was immediately drawn to the symbol of Nagasaki, the Peace Memorial Statue. Do you know Peace Memorial Statue? Have you ever been the statue? No? No. Oh. どうだ? The Peace Memorial Statue, you may have seen it with a right hand raised high and left hand extended outward, and a rake in a half lotus position. He is zazen, half lotus position, hankafuza. Yeah. The statue stands out for peace. The statue is positioned in such a way that it looks down on the city of Nagasaki. It was created with the hope that there would never again be war, and the world would stay peaceful in the coming era. We often hear an expression, Hiroshima of anger, Nagasaki of prayer. The park was filled with sculptures and stones that symbolized the prayer for peace. Among these one stone sculpture caught my eye. It depicted a mother holding her infant, but the surface of the stone appeared to have been weathered by time, but also it gave us an appearance as if it was affected by radiation the body was corroding. However, the mother's gaze toward the child was incredibly gentle, almost as if it was a statue of the Virgin Mary. Afterward, we visited the Atomic Bomb Museum, located next to the Peace Park. Our purpose was to hear the stories from people who had actually experienced the bombing. About 20 monks entered the room where an elderly woman in a wheelchair was waiting for us. Her name was Etsuko Nagan. At that time, she was 88 years old. Etsuko-san, with a sense of humor, she said, I have shared my experience of the atomic bomb many times, but this is the first time I am speaking to monks. I'm sorry, but I feel like I am preaching to the Buddhas. Howard lightened the mood and made us all feel at ease. Then she started to share the story of her atomic bomb experience. Etsuko-san started off right away, recalling the day, August 9, 1945. She was 16 years old at the time. As the country was at war, she had been assigned to work in a factory located about 3 kilometers from the epicenter on the hilltop. At 2 o'clock on August 9, there was a sudden bright rush of light all around her. Etsuko and her colleague realized it was a bomb and immediately looked cover inside the building. Then a blast swept through, which was unlike anything they had ever experienced before. All the windows shattered, and the building was severely damaged. However, since the factory was far enough from the epicenter, they were safe. From the factory on the hilltop, they looked down at the city and saw their town and neighborhood destroyed. Nonetheless, Etsuko headed over toward the Nagasaki station area to search for her family. The street in front of the station was blocked with rubble from collapsed buildings. So they walked around to the back of the station. While walking, she heard something call out, Etsuko, Etsuko. It was her father. It's a miracle. You are alive? He exclaimed. And they embraced, grateful for the miracle of finding each other. On their way home, They saw that the bodies of those who had died from the bomb were all scattered on streets. Large heads, small heads, arms, and legs, some skeletons, some broken corpses were all scattered around everywhere. Humans, ducks, cats, cows, and horses, every kind of living creature was scorched and lying in the streets. When they arrived at their home, it was nothing but a burned wasteland. The house was completely gone. As Esko was wondering where her family was, a neighbor ran up to her and said, Esko, Esko, you are alive? Everyone is here. Come this way, and led her to a bomb shelter. Her family's in the shelter. Esko felt relieved, but was soon faced with the painful side of her brother Seiji. Severely burned, lying there suffering. Her father, trying to comfort Seiji, said, Seiji, it's okay. Leave it to me. But when he tried to lift Seiji, the skin of his thumb peeled off. Sticking to his father's hands. Even so, they tried to take Seiji to the hospital. They scavenged for galvanized metal sheets from the rubber to make a stretcher and carried him. The hospital was full of people, and no matter how long they waited, they never reached the front of the line. Seiji received no medical treatment and passed away 3 days after the bombing inside the shelter as his family watched over him. They had no crematorium, and the family had no choice but to cremate the body themselves. They had to send fire to Seiji's body, and Etsuko questioned whether they could saw such a thing, but they had no choice. They gathered it from around them and lit the fire. They placed Seiji's remains in the container they had found in the rubble. Etsuko kept the ashes in her arms every night as she slept. She was holding her brother, Seiji, as if he were alive, who had been praying full of life just a few days before. Soon after, on August 15th, the war ended. For Etsuko-san, the end of war did not come with a feeling of relief or joy. It was an incredibly sudden, and she wished that Japan had surrendered earlier, before the atomic bomb was dropped. However, it was the entire nation that fought in this war. The slogan shared among the nation was, "We will not show our need until we win." And no one could have ever dared to say that it would be better to lose. After the war ended, Etsuko and her family traveled for 25 miles on foot to a town called Obama, where they relied on their relative. It took them several days to get there. But when they arrived in Obama, Etsuko's younger sister, Kuniko, became sick. She dropped radiation sickness as a result of the bombing. Her hair began to fall out. Her gums kept bleeding, and spots appeared on her body. A month after the bombing, Kuniko passed away following her brother. Etsuko had lost her beloved younger siblings. While she had survived at the age of 16, her younger brother and sister had died. It was an incredibly sad and painful experience. But there was an even deeper sorrow in their deaths. In fact, these two younger siblings had been evacuated to Kagoshima Prefecture, far away from Nagasaki. 4 months during the war, they had been living in countryside of Kagoshima, gradually getting accustomed to their new life there. In fact, it was Etsuko who had felt lonely, not her younger siblings. One day, during a holiday, Etsuko went to visit her younger brother and sister in Kagoshima Prefecture. Her mother had told Etsuko not to bring them back to Nagasaki. With its abundant nature and hood, the life in the countryside of Kagoshima Prefecture allowed her younger siblings live happily and in good health. Etsuko spent a wonderful day with her brother and sister, perhaps because she envied their joy of life, or felt lonely despite their resistance. She forced her siblings to board the train on her way back and brought them back to Nagasaki. Shortly after, the atomic bomb was dropped on the city of Nagasaki. After the death of her sister, Etsuko's mother stopped talking to her. They didn't argue, but they didn't talk to each other to get close either. No communication between them. It wasn't about who was at fault. Everyone understood that. If anyone was to blame, it was the war. But deep down in their hearts, both Etsuko and her mother must have regretted deeply that Etsuko had brought the children back to Nagasaki. Etsuko was overwhelmed with regret. Both of them tried to cope with their despair by keeping their mouth closed in silence. After some time, Etsuko's mother also began showing signs of radiation sickness. Like her sister Kuniko, her skin began to deteriorate. Her hair fell out, and blood started flowing out of her body. As her mother's life was drawing to an end, it was her mother who spoke first. Mother said, "Etsuko, I'm sorry for being silent since Kuniko's passed away. I'm sorry I couldn't care for you and love you more." Etsuko said, "No, I'm sorry for bringing them back. I killed my brother and sister. I'm sorry." She spoke through her tears. All the emotions they had been suppressing inside them that neither Etsuko nor her mother could express came to the surface. Etsuko felt that if she hadn't brought her siblings back, they would have survived. She had lived with this heavy emotional burden, feeling as if she were being crushed by his burden. But as her mother said the word, "I'm sorry," Etsuko felt in that moment that she had been forgiven. Her mother shared the same feelings. She said, "No, Etsuko, you didn't anything wrong. I am the one to blame. After Kuniko died, I couldn't talk to you. I wanted to tell you right away that it wasn't your fault at all. But I couldn't say it. I closed my mouth and made you suffer. I should have spoken to you sooner. I'm sorry, Etsuko." Afterward, the two of them talked all night long. They shared memories of playing with all three siblings together, enjoying outing with their parents, and how talking gently and softly with each other could bring so much joy and happiness. In that moment, all the lingering misunderstandings were resolved, and Etsuko and her mother returned to the relationship they had before. Sometime later, her mother passed away. Etsuko, who had finally felt deeply connected with her mother, found it difficult to keep living her life. She confided to a friend that she wanted to die. Her friend responded, "Etsuko, what are you talking about? Who is going to bury the three in the grave and pray for them? Isn't that why you are still alive?" That moment became the turning point. From then on, her purpose in life became to work hard, save money, and build a grave for her three loved ones. However, about 3 years after the end of the war, her father, who had been healthy until then, also passed away from radiation sickness caused by the atomic bomb. She was now completely alone. Wrapped in an overwhelming sadness and a sense of loneliness, she couldn't escape. She kept in mind her friend's words and continued to live on with determination. Meanwhile, she kept thinking of her lost family and talking each day. At that time, several years later, she finally had enough saved to build the graves for all 4 family members. When she visited the temple for the commemoration, she met a man who had also lost his entire family to the atomic bomb, just like her. As they shared their grief and suffering, they became important to each other and eventually married. Together, they overcame their sadness with their departed loved ones, always in their true thought and still wishing for the happiness of their new family. The kind and gentle words her mother had spoken before her passing became Etsuko's light of hope and guide in life. She spent her life with deep trust that speaking with kindness and softness was the way for people to realize harmony with one another. She continued to live her life with her new family, always speaking gentle and soft words. Working her life rest with her children and grandchildren. I purpose she must now have her great-grandchildren. However, Etsuko also said that the pain, sadness, and loneliness of being the lonely one left behind was something she would never forget in the rest of her life. Even so, in the words she spoke, there was not the slightest trace of anger or hatred. She spoke with calmness in soft and gentle words. Etsuko was saved by the gentle words of her mother after days of painful silence between them. Both she and her mother knew that Etsuko should have never brought her brother and sister back. Although Etsuko's mother could have questioned why she ever brought them back, her mother remained silent. Etsuko must have longed for her mother to say, "It's okay," or "It's not your fault." The days of silence from her mother must have been painful for Etsuko. For her mother, the death of her young children was something she just couldn't accept. But she knew that if she said it was Etsuko's fault, Etsuko would be crushed. But still, her mother could not bring herself to say it's okay. Maintaining the silence must have been the only option left. However, in the end, her mother gently said, "I'm sorry. It took time, but those words came out only because both her mother and Esko thought of each other, and because they were able to care for each other calmly. From that moment, Esko lived her life valuing how she can think of the item, Japanese item, the others in front of us. She has always kept her deceased family, the husband who helped her overcome her sorrow, the new family she had been blessed with, and the people who would listen to this story in her thoughts. It is because she always kept them in her thoughts that gentle words came out naturally from her. Rather than harboring hatred, she spoke soft words with a heart of compassion. Because she remembered her mother's last gentle words, kindness and softness overflew in Esko's words. When the story ended, and we were about to leave the venue, Esko saw us off. I knelt down, grabbed Esko's hand tightly, and said, "Thank you so much. Your gentle words were so wonderful. I truly thank you." Esko responded, "No, thank you for listening so attentively to the end." Her hands, so wrinkled and gentle, so wrinkled and aged, were incredibly soft and warm, radiating the warmth of her kind heart. We may not be able to move nations or stop wars, but if each of us holds a heart of compassion for each other and never forget to use words of gentle heart, we can certainly eliminate conflict between people. If the leaders of a country had a heart of compassion and spoke with words of gentleness, there would be no war. As long as we continue to engage deeply in the practice of Zazen and cultivate the heart of compassion, perhaps the heart of compassion will also blossom in someone's heart, just like Etsuko. Let us not forget the compassionate heart and gentle words. This is how we hope for a peaceful world without conflict. Let us continue to live each day at a time with the continuous practice of Zazen, wishing for this peaceful world. This is the teaching of the Buddha. This is the word that Dogen Zenji and Keizan Zenji both wished for. Esko's detected life is certainly teaching all of this to us. Thank you for hearing my Dharma talk. Thank you very much. Thank you so much. And I will come the sutra. Please, Gasho. 願わくはこの功徳をもっ 手あまねく一切に及ぼし、我らと主上と皆共に仏道上善こと。Thank you so much.